let me get this straight. I'm exhausted, barely functioning, and then I drink some coffee. It goes down my throat, hits my stomach, and somehow, within minutes, my brain is awake and ready to conquer the world. What Starbucks is calling a beverage seems suspiciously like liquid sorcery, but fear not, it's only science. So how does caffeine scientifically know to wake up your brain specifically? Let's follow the adventure of your freshly gulped espresso shot to understand this better. But before we dive in, if you want more mind-blowing science explained like this, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, your brain will thank you later. After sliding down your esophagus like a caffeinated water slide, we land in the stomach. Now, unlike most substances, caffeine is a bit of a show-off. It doesn't wait around. Within about 45 minutes, it's already absorbed into your bloodstream. Some gets absorbed right in the stomach, but most rushes into the small intestine where it really gets down to business. From here, our hero enters the bloodstream and begins its journey through your entire body. And I do mean entire body. Your heart, your kidneys, your liver, everywhere. But caffeine has a very specific target in mind. And that target is chilling in your skull. But wait, how does it even get to the brain? Remember the blood-brain barrier? That super strict security system that keeps most things out of your brain? Well, caffeine is on the VIP list. It's small, slippery, and fat-soluble, which in chemistry language means it can just slide right through those tiny gaps like it owns the place. And once it's in your brain, the real magic begins. Now, to understand what caffeine does up there, we need to talk about what's happening in your brain when you're tired. Let's meet a molecule called adenosine. Adenosine is basically your brain's sleep accountant. Every time your neurons fire, every time you think a thought or move a muscle, your cells burn through energy in the form of ATP. And when ATP gets used up, it breaks down into adenosine. So the longer you're awake, the more adenosine piles up in your brain. Now, adenosine is a bit of a downer. It floats around your brain looking for its favorite hangout spots, which are adenosine receptors. Think of these receptors like parking spots specifically designed for adenosine. When adenosine parks itself in these spots, it sends a signal to your brain that says, "Hey, slow down, you're tired. Maybe take a nap." And your brain listens. It starts releasing less of the alertness neurotransmitters like dopamine and glutamate, and you start feeling sluggish and foggy. But here is where caffeine crashes the party like an uninvited guest who's way too confident. Caffeine has a dirty little secret. It looks almost identical to adenosine. Like if adenosine and caffeine were in a police lineup, your brain receptors would struggle to tell them apart. So when caffeine rolls up to those adenosine receptors, it just slides right in and takes the parking spot. And then it just sits there. It doesn't activate the receptor. It doesn't send the tired signal. It just blocks the spot so adenosine can't get in. Now, adenosine is still floating around, still accumulating, but it's got nowhere to go. It's like showing up to a concert and finding out some guy named Caffeine took your seat and refuses to move. Your brain stops getting the slow down signal, and suddenly, you don't feel tired anymore. But that's not all, because caffeine isn't just blocking the sleepy signals, it's causing a chain reaction. You see, when those adenosine receptors are blocked, your neurons start firing more freely. And when neurons fire more, your pituitary gland notices all this activity and thinks, uh-oh, something important must be happening, we need backup. So it releases a hormone that tells your adrenal glands to pump out adrenaline. Yes, that adrenaline. The same stuff that kicks in when you're running from a bear. Your heart rate increases, your airways open up, sugar floods into your bloodstream for quick energy, and boom, you're wide awake and weirdly motivated to reply to emails at 2 in the morning. But hold on, if caffeine is blocking adenosine everywhere in the brain, why do we specifically feel more awake? Well, adenosine receptors are all over your brain, but they're especially concentrated in areas that control wakefulness and attention, places like the basal forebrain and the prefrontal cortex. So while caffeine affects your whole brain, the areas that make you feel awake and focused get hit the hardest. And here's the kicker. Caffeine actually doesn't give you energy. I know, plot twist. It's not a battery pack. It's more like a mask. Adenosine is still building up in your brain. You're still getting more tired, but caffeine is just covering up the signal so you don't notice it. It's like putting tape over your car's check engine light. The problem is still there. You just can't see it anymore. And that's why when caffeine eventually wears off, usually after about 4 to 6 hours, all that built-up adenosine floods into those receptors at once, and you crash. Hard. Now you might be wondering, if caffeine works so well, why does it stop working after a while? Why do some people need 3 cups just to feel normal? That's because your brain isn't stupid. If you keep blocking those adenosine receptors every single day, your brain goes, all right, if this guy wants to play games, I'll just make more receptors. So it does. It literally builds more adenosine parking spots. Now you need more caffeine to block all of them, and congratulations, you've just developed a tolerance. But wait, there's one more twist. Different people react to caffeine differently, and that's because of genetics. There's an enzyme in your liver called CYP1A2, and it's responsible for breaking down caffeine. Some people have a fast version of this enzyme, so they metabolize caffeine quickly, and it doesn't affect them as much. Other people have a slow version, and even a small cup keeps them wired for hours. So if your friend can drink espresso at 9 p.m. and sleep like a baby, blame their DNA. Anyway, that venti cold brew is going to cost you around $1 subscribe, and I'll just flip the screen here real quick for you.